Hello everyone, my name is Teacher Carol. How are you today? Okay, I'm good. Please get your book Science in Action 5. And please open your book on page 57. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. Okay, so our topic for today is factors causing pollination. Okay, so factors causing pollination are wind. Okay, so wind, animals, water, and human. Okay, so factors causing pollination are wind. Wind is a way to blow pollen so it lands on top of the pistil. Animals. Animals such as insects, bees, and butterflies are able to transfer the pollen of one flower to another flower. So, animals, second is animals, and then another one is water. Water is a way to transfer pollen from one flower to another. And next is human. Okay, so humans can help to pollinate plants that we want to reproduce. Okay, so those are the factors causing pollination. Fertilization. Fertilization happens when a male germ cell joins with a female germ cell. When pollen lands on the stigma, a pollen tube grows from the pollen down through the pistil. This transfer a male germ cell to the ovule, where it joins with an egg cell. The joined cells then form a seed, which can grow into a new plant. Okay, so fertilization happens when a male germ cell joins with a female germ cell. Okay, so that's when fertilization happens. Okay, now please open your book on page 58. Okay, so pollination and fertilization of plants. So here is the picture. Okay, so pollination and fertilization of plants. The pollen falls on the top of the pistil. Okay, so the pollen falls onto the top of the pistil. And next, the pollen starts to grow. Okay, so the pollen starts to grow. That's the male germ cell. And then the pollen starts to grow a long tube. So fertilized egg cell. Okay, so that's the fertilized egg cell. And here is the pollen, ovary, ovule, and egg cell. Okay, so this is the egg cell. And then this is the male germ cell. Then it will go down. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so propagation. Okay, so another propagation. Okay, so plant propagation. Plant propagation is the process of creating new plants. Okay. There are two types of propagation as follows. Okay, so plant propagation is the process of creating new plants. There are two types of propagation as follows. Okay, so sexual propagation and asexual propagation. So what is sexual propagation? Sexual propagation is the propagation by seeds formed by sexual reproduction. So that's sexual propagation. Asexual propagation can be divided into two types as follows. Grow into new plants. This could include roots of finger roots, underground stems or galangal, or leaflets of Brio, Bryopelum pinnatum. Okay, so here is the asexual reproduction. Okay, so roots of finger root. Okay, so this is the roots of finger root, underground stems of galangal, and leaflets of Bryophyllum pinnatum. Okay, so that's the part of asexual propagation. It can be divided into two types. Okay, so taking whole parts of plants such as roots. Okay, and other methods of propagation are cuttings, grafting, bud grafting, and tree plugging. Okay, so that's another type of asexual propagation, other methods of propagation. Okay, so methods of propagation. First, okay, now please open your book on page 59. Okay, so on page 59, methods of propagation. So, okay, so what are the methods of propagation? Seeding. Okay, so seeding, this is the propagation of plants by using seeds produced by sexual reproduction. Seeds are planted in a prepared place either in plant plots or directly into the ground. An advantage of growing plants from seeds is that can grow strong they can grow strong roots and stems. However, they may take a long time to grow and produce fruit. Okay, so this is the process, okay, of propagation. Fill a seed tray with soil to depth at least 7 centimeter. Spread the seeds all over the soil in rows. Cover the seeds with a little more soil and gently press it down, and water the seeds with a watering can. Water the seeds with a watering can every day, both in the morning and in the evening, until the seedlings are growing well. Okay, so that's the steps of seeding. Okay, steps of seeding in the tray. And another propagation method is cuttings. Okay, so cuttings. This is the propagation of plants using a stem or a leaf cut from a fully grown plant. Steps for growing plants from cuttings. Okay, so this is the steps for growing plants from cuttings. So, prepare the soil where the cuttings will be grown. Okay, so prepare the soil, that's number one. And then number two, look at the picture number two. Choose a branch that is not too young or too old. Use a sharp knife. Okay, so choose a branch that is not too young or too old. Okay, so use a sharp knife to cut it diagonally from the main plant with a length of between 5 to 8 centimeter. Okay, so in number three, okay, so picture number three, cut any leaves from the cutting to reduce water loss. Okay, and number four, okay, so that's picture number four, plant the cutting in the soil at at a diagonal angle. Number five, water the cutting with a watering can every day, both in the morning and in the evening. Okay, so that's how cuttings. Okay, so that's the steps. That's the steps for growing plants from cuttings. Okay, and now please open your book on page 60. On page 60, another method of propagation is layering. Okay, so another methods of propagation is layering. Layering. This is the propagation of plants by making a branch grow root while still attached to a parent tree. Once the root is strong enough, the layers The layered branch can be planted on its own. Plants propagated from layering will have exactly the same characteristics as their parent and can quickly produce products. However, they may not be very strong because they don't have well developed roots. Plants that are commonly propagated by layering are mangoes, guavas, and oranges. Okay, so these are the mostly commonly propagated by layering. Mangoes, guavas, and oranges. Okay, and steps for layering. Okay, so what are the steps for layering? So, step 1, choose a healthy branch that is not too young or old. Okay, so that's picture 1, okay? Number 2, score 2 lines on the branch with a sharp knife about 2 to 4 centimeter apart from each other. Okay, so that's picture number 2. And number 3, rip the bark from the branch between the two. Okay, so it's still picture number 2, okay? Rip the bark from the branch between the two lines. Okay, and number 4, smooth any rough part and wipe the bare branch with a clean cloth. Okay, so here's number 4, smooth any rough parts and wipe the bare branch with a clean cloth. Okay, and number 5, cover the bare branch with a soil mixed with manure. Okay, so here, still look at picture number 3. Okay, and number 6. Okay, so number 6, bind it with the branch to be cultured. Cover the soil with a soaked leaf and wrap it tightly. Okay, so that's the picture number 4, cover. And then number 7, water will then wrap the whole thing in plastic and tie it at the top and the bottom. Okay, so here, picture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's picture number 5. Okay, so wrapped it. And number 8, write the name of the plant and the date of layering on the plastic. Okay, so write the name. So what plants is that? Okay, is it mango? Is it guava? And write the date. Okay, write the date when you did that layering. Okay, when did you do the layering? Okay, so when a new root first appears, it will be white. However, you need to wait until it turns brown. When the root is brown, the layered plant can be planted in the soil. Okay, so when you see the roots, then you can plant it on the soil. You can cut it now and then plant it on the soil. And another propagation method is budding. Okay, so budding is the propagation of plants using buds of one species and growing them in the trunk of a different species to get some characteristics of both. Okay, so now please open your book on page 61. Okay, steps of budding. Okay, so this is the steps of budding. Okay, number 1, select an intermode on the stem of the rootstock plant. Number 2, okay, so look at the picture, okay? Number 2, use a sharp, slightly curved knife to carefully cut a T shape into the bark and peel it open. Okay, so here, picture number 1. Then 2, Number 3, okay, so look at picture number 3. Slice a bud plate from the plant you want to attach to the root stock plant. Carefully remove any wood around the bud. Place the bud inside the T-shaped cut. You have made T-shaped cut you have made on the rootstock. Gently press the bark back down to cover the bud and make it tight against the exposed wood of the rootstock. Cut any remaining bud plate off so that the bark of the rootstock covers the bud completely. So, okay, number 4. Okay, so that's picture 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so cover. Okay, number 4, cover the closed T-shaped cut by wrapping it tightly with plastic material, starting from the bottom and working up. This will help it to stop from drying. This will help to stop it drying out. Okay, sorry. Okay, and then leave it for 7 to 14 days. After this time, remove the plastic material to check the bud. If there is green growth from the bud, it has been successful. Recover it with the plastic material. So, okay. And then wait another 14 days. Okay, so after 14 days, remove the plastic material if the bud is growing well. Replace the plastic material around the lower part but leave the upper part uncovered. Okay. Okay, so that's the step of budding. Okay, so that's the step of budding. Okay, now please open your book on page 62. Now open your book on page 62. Okay, so another method is plugging. Okay, so plugging. Plugging is a propagation by bringing the top of a twig to plug into the rootstock for them to grow as one plant. Steps of plugging. Okay, so picture 1, notch the rootstock in a serrated shape. Then, cut the base part of the top of a twig from the plant of interest into a wedge shape. Okay, so look at that picture. Okay, so that's the steps of plugging. Okay, number 2, put the top of the twig in the notch. And step 3, wrap the joint with wax. Then use plastic material to cover the joint tightly. Okay, so that's it. And then number 6, okay, so another propagation. Another propagation method is inner king. Okay, so inner king is a propagation by bringing a plant with the strong roots to be connected with the top of another plant in order to have the tissues of the two plants. Connected and let them grow as one plant, which will have similar characteristics. Okay, so this is the steps of inner king. Okay, so step 1, prepare the rootstock, especially rootstock in a plastic bag. When the rootstock grows, use scissors or a sharp knife to cut either side of the rootstock, stem, and cut either side of the other plants. Stem as a deep cut, around 1/3 of the stems diameter and about 2 centimeters long. Okay, so that's the picture. Okay, so first cutting the original plant stem and then cutting the rootstock stem. Okay, so that's the method. Okay, steps of inner king. Okay, And the significance of plugging and innerking is that the tissues of the two plants joints fit in order that their food pipelines can be connected. Okay, so that's the significance. Okay, so that's the importance, the significance. That's the significance of plugging and innerking. Okay, and then now please open your book on page 63. Okay, so on page 63, okay, so another this is the continue. Okay, number two steps, second steps of innerking. Okay, so number two, lay the cut sections of stems next to each other. Wrap the two stems tightly using plastic material, working from the bottom to the top. Leave for 30 to 40 days. Okay, so number three, when both stems are well connected, cut the stem of the original plant so you are left with it connected to the rootstock. Okay. Grow it in a shady area until its stem is strong before growing it in soil. Okay, so you have to wait. Okay, so that's the inner king. Okay, so that's the inner king. What are some methods of plant propagation? Okay, so methods is inner king, plugging, budding, layering, and seeding. Okay, so those are the methods of propagation. Okay, first is seeding, again, seeding, budding, layering, and inner king and plugging. Okay, so those are the methods of plant propagation. Okay, understand? Okay, so that's it for today. Okay, so next meeting we will have an experiment. Okay, so we will answer page 63 and 64. Okay, next meeting. Okay, so that's it for today. Oh,